My right hand was deliberately smashed by a rival. My father, one of the country's top hand surgeons, falsified the injury assessment. At the police station, he spoke with complete conviction, dismissing the deliberate attack that destroyed my career as soft tissue contusion from an accidental fall. All because that girl's mother was the woman he'd been in love with for half his life. When I confronted him, my father looked me dead in the eye, righteous as ever. As a physician, I deal in objective facts. I can't exaggerate an injury just because you're my daughter. That would be framing an innocent person. Anya is about to compete in an international piano competition. A criminal record would ruin her life. Can't you show a little compassion? I watched Anya and her mother walk out of the police station, smug and untouched. And I smiled. I reached into my bag and pulled out the document I'd prepared, a formal declaration severing our relationship as father and daughter, and threw it in his face. Since you're so committed to your medical ethics, since you love being the good guy so much, then I hope when you're old, your precious first love is there to see you through the rest of your days. My father didn't read the declaration. In his eyes, it was nothing but a jealous tantrum. Emma, are you done throwing your fit? He picked the paper up off the floor, didn't even glance at it, tore it in half, and dropped it in the trash. Mrs. Shun is hosting a dinner at the Prestige Club tonight. You're coming with me. Anya will be there too. It's a good chance to clear the air and put all this behind us. I stared at him, disbelief written all over my face. Put it behind us? My right hand was shattered. I couldn't even lift a cup. The person who did it had just walked free. And he wanted me to go celebrate with her? I'm not going. 3 words, flat and cold. I pushed the door open with my good hand. Behind me, my father's voice followed, barely containing his fury. Emma, why do you have to be so cruel? Mrs. Shin raised Anya alone. It wasn't easy. She practically begged me to come to this dinner. If you don't show up, you're disrespecting me. You're as good as destroying that woman and her daughter. I didn't look back. I walked fast, down the corridor and out into the open air, away from him. Outside the police station, the night wind cut through me. My bones ached. My mother's car was parked at the curb. She saw me and rushed over, eyes red and swollen, wringing her hands. Sweetie, what happened? Did they open a case? Looking at this woman, who'd spent her whole life swallowing her pain inside that house, I felt something hollow open up in my chest. No case. They ruled it accidental. My mother froze. Tears spilled down her face. How? Your father said he'd make sure Anya faced consequences. How can they call it an accident? I let out a short, humorless laugh. Mom, your husband is a top authority in his field. If he says it's an accident, then it's an accident. Even if the person just crushed his own daughter's hand. My mother twisted her fingers together, visibly uncomfortable. I'm sure your father had his reasons. That woman, she did save his life once, all those years ago. Stop. I cut her off. Take me to the hospital. I need nerve repair surgery. My mother hesitated, glancing at her phone. The thing is, your father just texted. He wants us both to go straight to the Prestige Club. He said if we don't show up tonight, he'll cut off my allowance. I looked at her. 45 years old. Living like a ghost wearing someone else's skin. Every cent she had came from my father. She didn't even dare raise her voice at him. Then you can go. I took out my phone and called a rideshare. I'll get there myself. Emma, please don't. She reached for me. I stepped back. Mom, if you still want to be my mother, don't go to that dinner. If you go, then as far as I'm concerned, you never had me. The car arrived. Through the window, I watched my mother standing on the curb, torn. Then she sighed, turned around, and got in her own car. Heading toward the Prestige Club. I closed my eyes. The tears finally came. This was my family. A father drowning in a love that wasn't meant for us. A mother too weak to swim against the current. And me, the unwanted sacrifice caught in the middle. Back at the hospital, I'd barely lay down when my phone started buzzing nonstop. On Instagram, Anya had posted a 9-photo spread. She was in a designer gown, seated at a grand piano that probably cost more than most people's apartments. My father stood behind her, smiling, warm, paternal, like something out of a catalog. The caption read, "Grateful for Dr. Lin's integrity, and for my mom's love. Real talent doesn't bow to rumors. Cheers. Integrity? Real talent. Go to hell." I tapped the comments. All her socialite friends, falling over themselves. Anya, you're amazing. Dr. Lin truly put principle over family respect. Whatever happened to that girl who played piano like she was punching it? She couldn't even make it to toast her. Anya replied. Probably home losing her mind. Oh. I stared at the screen. My good hand clenched into a fist. Then a new notification popped up. A money transfer. From my father. Amount, $200. Note. Stop acting out. Get yourself some vitamins. I've already told Mrs. Shin she doesn't need to cover your rehab costs. They're preparing for an international tour and expenses are tight. Try to be understanding. I read it twice. My stomach turned over. I wanted to be sick. I threw my phone at the wall. I spent 3 days in the hospital. My father didn't visit once. Instead, Sandra Shun showed up. She brought a box of discount cookies that were nearly expired. She was dressed in a simple but well-tailored dress, standing at the door of my room with her signature wounded expression. Emma, sweetie. Just came to check on you. She set the cookies on the bedside table and smoothed her hair. Anya's been under so much pressure with the competition. She accidentally hurt your hand. I've already had a serious talk with her. And your father helped clear everything up. So we're even now, right? Even? I looked at that cheap little box of cookies and almost laughed. My hands could play Chopin. And you think they're worth a box of clearance cookies? Sandra's expression flickered. Then the smile came back. Oh, Emma, don't be like that. When your father had that malpractice incident years ago, it was me who took the fall for him. Remember that. A person has to have some conscience. Your father understands that. That's why he's so reasonable. Besides, your family is well off. You're not exactly hurting for the rehab money, are you? My Anya is performing at Carnegie Hall. She cannot have a criminal record following her around. In that moment, I finally understood the expression shameless and unstoppable. These people were leeches. And my father was the fool who'd been baring his neck for them, and complaining the blood wasn't flowing fast enough. Get out. I pointed at the door. Take your cookies and get out. Sandra's smile collapsed. You have no manners whatsoever. No wonder Anya can't stand you. You need to be taught a lesson. She muttered all the way out, cookies in hand. Right before the door closed, she threw one spectacular eye roll. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. That afternoon, the head nurse came in with a billing statement. Her expression wasn't good. Emma, your account is in arrears. If you don't make a payment, tomorrow's secondary nerve reconstruction surgery will have to be cancelled. I went still. Arrears? My father, Dr. Lin, didn't pay? The head nurse shook her head. Dr. Lin called yesterday and withdrew the $20,000 prepayment. He said the other family urgently needed the money to purchase a limited edition antique violin, and he was lending it to them in the meantime. He said you should cover it yourself for now. Something snapped inside me. Clean and final. He withdrew my surgery money to buy an instrument for the person who destroyed me? What kind of father does that? My hands were shaking as I borrowed the nurse's phone to call him. It rang for a long time before he picked up. From the background came the lilt of a violin, and my father's easy, relaxed laughter. Hello? Who's this? It's me. A brief silence on the other end. Then my father's voice, impatient. Emma? Where's your phone? Why are you calling from a strange number? Richard. You withdrew my surgery funds. I used his first name. Is that how you talk to your father? His voice climbed a few notes. Sandra and Anya are about to go on tour, and they need to look the part. You're resting in the hospital. That surgery can wait a few days. It's not going anywhere. So I moved the money to help them out temporarily. You still have money from your performances, don't you? Use that. Don't be selfish. Learn to be happy for other people. Happy for other people? He was breaking my fingers one by one to roll out a red carpet for someone else. That surgery is my only chance to save my right hand. I screamed into the phone. The doctor said if we miss this window, I will never play again. You gave the money to Anya for a violin? Are you out of your mind? From the other end, Sandra's voice drifted in, theatrical and soft. Oh, Richard, if Emma really needs it urgently, we can hold off on the violin for now. Then my father's voice, firm and decided. Sandra, don't listen to her. She's being dramatic. These local doctors love to scare people. It's never as serious as they make it sound. The performance is what matters. Anya is on the verge of being scouted by the Royal Academy. She needs a proper instrument. Emma, figure it out yourself. Don't bother me with this. Click. The line went dead. I stood there holding the phone, frozen. The head nurse looked at me with something like pity. Emma, maybe you could call your mom? My mom? The woman who had to log every grocery receipt and get it approved? I shook my head. It's okay. Please start the discharge paperwork. But your hand? I'm not getting treated. If the world was going to be this rotten, I didn't have to keep pretending to be a good girl. I went home once, while no one was there. I packed everything that was mine, except for the written declaration severing ties with my father, that I left behind. My rare vinyl records, my formal gowns, every gold medal I'd earned since childhood. All of it went up on eBay, priced to sell, cash only. With that money, I rented a small apartment in the next town over, one with an elevator. Then I found a private rehabilitation center. I'd missed the optimal treatment window. I'd never play technically demanding pieces again. But the doctor said with enough hard work, I could regain basic use of my hand for everyday life. I used to be the National Youth Piano Championship winner. Now I was someone who couldn't hold a fork without trembling. But I didn't cry. I'd cried all my tears out that afternoon. There was nothing left. Half a month later, I was in the middle of rehab, sweating through grip exercises with a silicone ball. The door to my room swung open. My father walked in with Anya and Sandra. The three of them moved like they owned the place. His face was tight. He was holding a document. Emma, what are you doing hiding out here? Do you have any idea how long we've been looking for you? I ignored him, kept squeezing the ball, jaw clenched. Every squeeze felt like tearing something loose inside my hand. Anya was chewing gum, bored out of her mind. Told you she was hiding, Dr. Lin. So dramatic. It's just a hand injury. It's not like she's dying. My father dropped the document on my bedside table with a slap. I glanced at it. Voluntary waiver of liability. For the competition organizing committee. Word got back to the committee that Anya hurt someone. They're threatening to revoke her entry. My father said it like he was stating obvious logic. If you sign this, admit that you hurt yourself accidentally, they'll reinstate her spot. Anya is on the verge of winning gold. You can't let something this small ruin her future. I hurt myself. I stopped moving. I turned and looked at him. She waited until I wasn't looking and brought a solid wood piano lid. Dozens of pounds, crashing down on my hand. And you're calling that me hurting myself? Dr. Lin, how do you even say that out loud? His eyes shifted for just a second. Then the authority snapped back into place. If you say it happened that way, then that's how it happened. I'm the certified expert. I know how to handle these things. Sign it. Stop wasting everyone's time. Sandra chimed in helpfully from the side. Exactly, Emma. We're practically family. Why make everything so tense? If Anya gets banned, how is she supposed to have a career? Why do you have to be so vindictive? I looked at the three of them, and suddenly the whole thing felt almost absurd. And if I don't sign? Anya spat her gum on the floor, crossed the room, and shoved me, hard. I was already off balance. I hit the ground. My right hand caught the floor. The pain was blinding. Ah! I cried out. My father flinched, started instinctively toward me. Anya stopped him. Don't baby her, Dr. Lin. She's faking. Emma, listen to me. You're signing this today whether you want to or not. Every time I see you, I'll make you hurt. Every single time. She raised her foot, in heels, directly over my bandaged right hand. Stop. My father finally spoke up. Not to protect me. To protect himself. Anya, keep your hands to yourself. There are cameras in here. He pulled Anya back and looked down at me from where I lay on the floor. Emma, I'm asking you one last time. Are you signing or not? If you don't sign, don't expect another cent from me. Ever. And don't bother coming home. I was on the floor, soaked in cold sweat from the pain. But I started laughing. Home. The home where my surgery money was handed to the person who broke my hand, so she could buy a violin? The home where my own father lied for the person who attacked me? Richard, did you forget? I already cut ties with you. With my left hand, I pulled a backup phone out of my pocket. The screen showed it was recording. Anya shoving me just now. All of you pressuring me to sign a false statement. I got it all. This time, I'm not letting any of you walk away from this. My father's face went white. You set me up? I pushed myself up off the floor, inch by inch. Like a hawk with a broken wing, but with the eyes of something far more dangerous. You taught me, Dad. A physician deals in objective facts. My father panicked. He was one of the top specialists in the country. He knew better than anyone what reputation was worth. Anya shoving me, causing a second injury, combined with audio of them pressuring a victim to sign a false statement and admitting to falsifying the original assessment. If any of this got out, his career was finished. Emma, give me the phone. His tone softened, trying to use family as leverage. We're family. We can talk this through. Anya just has a short temper. She didn't mean it. I watched his hand reach toward me. Grab the phone, Anya. Sandra's voice cut across the room. Anya lunged for it. I'd been ready. I hit send. The file went straight to cloud storage, and simultaneously to several prominent music journalists I'd already contacted. Too late. I dropped the phone on the floor. It's already out. Anya stomped it to pieces, then grabbed my collar. You set me up? Then the door burst open. Security flooded in, followed by my attending physician. Hey, what the hell is going on in here? The doctor took one look at me on the floor, blood seeping through the bandaging, and went pale with fury. She's in recovery. This is deliberate assault. Call the police. Right now. The police arrived fast. It was a hospital, a public space, and the conduct was flagrant. Anya was cuffed on the spot. Sandra threw herself on the floor, wailing that I was trying to frame them. My father stood in the corner like a statue someone had forgotten to animate. He looked at me. No guilt in his eyes. only the stunned, burning anger of a man who'd been defied. Emma, you've deeply disappointed me. His voice was hoarse, but he was still trying to hold on to that tone, authoritative above it all. Is this you destroying Anya? Destroying your own father? I climbed back into my treatment chair. The nurse came over and rewrapped the bandaging. Blood seeped slowly through the gauze, blooming like something ugly. I looked up at him. My voice was perfectly calm. Dad, it's not me that's destroying you. It's your greed, your favoritism, and that self-righteous idea you have of what integrity looks like. I paused, like I was just reminding him of something routine. Also, while you still have a license, find yourself a good lawyer. I'm going all the way with this. That night, the video went viral. The viral spread of the video was not a slow burn, it was an explosion. By 10 p.m., the footage of Anya shoving me to the floor in my hospital room, and my father standing over me, demanding I sign a false statement, had reached 3 million views on Weibo and Instagram. The classical music community, usually quiet and polite, erupted. The contrast was too stark, the hypocrisy too loud. On one side was Dr. Richard Lin, the country's most respected hand surgeon who had just been publicly praised for his integrity and placing principle over family. On the other side was the raw footage of him withdrawing his own daughter's surgery funds to buy a limited edition violin for the girl who had shattered her hand. Integrity? The top comment under the news brief read with 50,000 likes. He literally broke his daughter's career to buy a toy for his mistress's daughter. This is not medical ethics. This is domestic abuse. Look at the second slide. Another user wrote, posting a screenshot of my hand swollen and freshly bleeding through the gauze. The daughter is a national champion. She can't even stand up, and they're calling her dramatic. If I had a father like this, I'd go to the police tonight. At midnight, the phone in my rehab room rang. It wasn't my father. It was my mother. Emma, she sobbed, her voice carrying a high, frantic pitch I had never heard from her before. Delete the video. Please, sweetie, delete it. Your father's hospital. The board of directors just called him. They've suspended his surgical license pending an internal investigation. I leaned back against my pillow, my left hand holding the cold ice pack against my throbbing right wrist. And Mrs. Shun, Sandra, she's having a panic attack, my mother cried. Anya was taken to the city detention center. They're refusing bail because of the previous report. Emma, you've ruined your father's career. He's 52 years old. If he loses his license now, we have nothing. You have the Prestige Club dinner, Mom, I said, my voice flat, as calm as the sterile air of the room. And you have Sandra's gratitude. Didn't she say she took the fall for him years ago? Let her take the fall for him again. Emma, how can you be so heartless? She wept. I'm your mother. You were my mother until you got into that car to go to the Prestige Club. I said, goodbye, Mom. I hung up. I didn't block her number. I wanted her to have the chance to call me again, to let her see exactly how little her tears meant to me now. The next morning, the hospital's medical board issued an official statement. In light of the recent public allegations regarding Dr. Richard Lin, the board of directors has initiated a comprehensive review of all clinical assessments and financial transactions associated with the patient Emma Lin. The first domino had fallen. The secondary nerve reconstruction surgery was scheduled for Thursday morning. My father had withdrawn the $20,000, but he had forgotten one crucial detail. I wasn't a child who relied on his allowance. For 7 years, my performance fees, my competition winnings, and my commercial sponsorship with the Steinway Group had been deposited into a private trust account my maternal grandmother had set up for me before she died. I had more than enough to pay for the surgery. I had enough to buy the entire clinic if I wanted to. The damage is severe, Emma, Dr. Christian Adler, the Swiss specialist I had flown in from Zurich, said as he adjusted his glasses, looking at the MRI scan. On the light box. Your father. His report said soft tissue contusion. This is a joke. The third and fourth metacarpal bones have been crushed into 6 fragments. The ulnar nerve is 70% severed. He turned to look at me, his eyes filled with the cold professional fury of a true surgeon. As a doctor, I have never seen a medical report this fraudulent. He didn't just falsify the assessment. He intentionally delayed your surgery to ensure the tissue would scar, permanently destroying your hand's flexibility. He wanted to make sure I couldn't play again. I said, my voice steady. If I couldn't play, there would be no comparison to Anya. He is a disgrace to the white coat, Adler said, his fingers tight around his pen. We will do the surgery tomorrow. I cannot guarantee you will play Chopin at Carnegie Hall again, Emma. But I will make sure you can hold a fork. And I will make sure you can sign his indictment. That's all I need, I said. The surgery lasted 5 hours. When I woke up, the anesthesia was still heavy in my veins, but the constant, burning pressure in my right hand had settled into a clean, cool ache. My fingers were wrapped in a thick modern splint, held together by titanium pins, that had been imported from Switzerland. My phone sitting on the bedside table was buzzing. It was my father. I didn't answer. I pressed the speaker button on my secondary recording app, letting his voice fill the quiet room. Emma, you think you've won, he roared, his voice hoarse, the dignified authority he had worn for 30 years completely gone. The medical board has suspended my credentials. They're auditing my files from the last 10 years. The malpractice incident with Sandra. They've reopened the case. Good, I said, my voice quiet behind my oxygen mask. You're a monster, he screamed. Sandra, she's been hospitalized for a heart condition. Anya's competition spot was permanently revoked this morning. She's ruined, Emma. Her life is over because of your jealousy. Anya is 20 years old, Richard, I said, using his first name again. And she has a great future in the state penitentiary. I hear the acoustics in the cell blocks are excellent. She can practice her scales against the iron bars. Emma. I pressed the red button, terminating the call. The medical board's formal hearing was held in the grand auditorium of the Municipal Health Bureau. The room was filled with over 50 journalists, the board of directors, and the senior partners of the city's top hospitals. My father sat at the defense table, his face pale and sunken, his expensive tailored suit looking slightly too loose on his shoulders. Beside him sat Sandra Shun, her head bowed, her hands clutching a wet handkerchief. I sat in the front row of the gallery, my right hand resting in a black velvet sling, my left hand holding my mother's arm. My mother had tried to go to his office yesterday to ask for money to pay the house utilities, only to find that the hospital had already frozen his personal corporate accounts. She was currently living in our small guest house, her expensive dresses packed in cardboard boxes, her face aged by 10 years in a single week. Dr. Richard Lynn, the chairman of the medical board, said, his voice echoing through the silent auditorium. We have received the independent forensic report from Dr. Christian Adler of the Zurich Medical Center regarding the patient Emma Lynn. The chairman projected the two reports on the massive screen behind the stage. On the left was my father's official assessment. Soft tissue contusion. Accidental fall. No nerve damage. On the right was Dr. Adler's report. Crushed metacarpal bones. Severed ulnar nerve. Intentional delay of emergency surgery causing permanent scar tissue. Do you have an explanation for this discrepancy, Dr. Lynn? The chairman asked, his voice dropping to a freezing whisper. My father stood up, his jaw tight, his hands gripping the edge of the table. As a physician, I made my assessment based on the initial clinical indicators. The swelling was severe. It was difficult to evaluate the nerve damage. You are a top hand surgeon in this country, Richard, the chairman interrupted, his voice sharp with absolute contempt. You have performed over 5,000 nerve reconstructions. You can identify a severed ulnar nerve with your eyes closed. Why did you write no nerve damage on your own daughter's file 3 hours after Sandra Shin transferred $20,000 to your private account? The auditorium went entirely silent. The journalists near the front began to type frantically on their laptops, the key clacks sounding like a rainstorm in the quiet room. Sandra Shun stood up, her face white with panic as she grabbed the microphone. That money. That was a personal loan. I took the fall for him 10 years ago. When he made that mistake in the operating room, he owed me. You didn't take the fall, Sandra, I said, standing up from my seat. My voice was quiet, but it carried a cold, absolute weight that made everyone in the room turn their heads. You blackmailed him, I said, sliding a folder of old bank statements across the clerk's desk. For 15 years you used that malpractice incident to drain his salary, his research grants, and my own trust funds. You told him that if he didn't give Anya the violin, you would go to the medical board. I looked at my father, whose face was now the color of wet ashes. He didn't love you, Sandra, I said. He was just a coward who was terrified of losing his seat at the Prestige Club. The trial of Anya Shun was held 3 months later. She was prosecuted for assault causing grievous bodily harm, domestic violence, and conspiracy to commit judicial fraud. Due to the high-definition footage of her shoving me to the floor in the rehab center, her defense team had no room to negotiate. She was sentenced to 6 years in the state penitentiary. Her mother, Sandra, was indicted for blackmail, extortion, and tax evasion. Her personal assets seized by the state to pay back the $300,000 she had extorted from the Lynn family over the last 15 years. My father stood outside the courthouse, his medical license permanently revoked, his name erased from the registry of the Hand Surgeons Association. He looked like an old, broken man, his coat dusty, his hair completely gray at the temples. Emma, he said, his voice a dry, rattling whisper as I walked down the stone steps. The house. They've put a lien on the house. Your mother. We have nowhere to go. The guest house in the next town is still open, Richard, I said, my voice flat, my right hand resting in its sleek, black leather splint. The rent is cheap. Only $300 a month. I'm sure you can find a job as a medical clerk. They don't require a surgeon's license to file folders. Emma, please. I'm your father. My father died the afternoon you withdrew my surgery funds to buy a violin. I said. I turned and walked toward the curb, where my private car was waiting. My mother sat in the passenger seat, her head lowered, her hands wringing her cheap linen purse. She didn't look at my father. She had finally signed the divorce papers yesterday morning, receiving a minor settlement that would keep her in the guest house for the rest of her days. Let's go, Mom, I said, climbing into the back seat. The air in this city is finally starting to clear. 2 years later, the Grand Theatre of Zurich was packed. The gold leaf balconies were glittering under the crystal chandeliers, the audience dressed in their finest black silk and diamonds for the opening of the International Youth Piano Festival. I sat in the VIP box, my right hand resting on the red velvet railing. The splint was gone. The titanium pins had been removed, leaving behind only 3 thin, clean silver lines across my wrist, scars that looked more like a piece of custom jewelry than a mark of violence. My hand was strong enough to hold a glass of water, to sign the music scripts, and to write the compositions that had just won the European Gold Medal for Contemporary Classic. I would never play Chopin at Carnegie Hall again, but my music was being played by the finest young talents of the continent. Emma, Dr. Adler said, walking into the box and handing me a glass of champagne. The opening piece, it was beautiful. The newspapers are calling you the new voice of the Northern School. Thank you, Christian, I said, taking a slow sip of the cold wine. My father's medical license had been permanently retired, and his name was now nothing more than a footnote in a text on medical ethics. He was living in the small room behind the municipal clinic in the countryside, his days spent filing patient registries for $30 a week. He had tried to send me a message last month, asking for a ticket to the Zurich opening. I had deleted it without breaking the seal. I looked out at the glittering stage, where a young girl in a simple white dress was playing the opening notes of a Chopin nocturne. Her hands were steady, her fingers flying across the ivory keys with a wild, beautiful freedom that didn't need anyone's permission to live. I leaned my head back against the red velvet seat, the cool night wind from the lake blowing through my hair, and for the first time in 15 years my hands were completely warm.